property investing during a recession, the do's and don'ts. Do we stop investing in property when there's a recession, when the market's crashing, when people are fearful, when there's very little money around? Should we still be investing? There's a real interesting quote that there's more millionaires made during a recession than any other time. And why is that? That's because a few people are willing to take a risk when most people are fearful. When people are fearful, they're indecisive, they don't make a decision. So when I first got involved in property, and I remember it was late 2006 and 2007, the market started changing a little bit. By 2008, it was a bloodbath. The market crashed completely. People were running for the hills. Nobody wanted to buy property. Property prices were falling so fast. It was scary what was going on. You could purchase a property and find in 2 months later it's worth even less than what you'd paid for it, even if you bought it at a great price. So that clearly a situation like that causes a lot of fear. Now, we're not in that climate right now because recessions can be, there are different levels to a recession, if you like. And right now we're in a very modest slowdown in the market rather than a crash of any sort happening at the moment. But at that time in 2008, the market literally had crashed, meaning property prices had fallen like 15, 20, 25% in some cases. I think in Birmingham, when I look back at the figures, we were probably about 28% down from the peak of the market to the lowest point of the market when the crash had occurred. Now, let's say the price had fallen at 15% and they were still falling. Clearly, that creates a lot of fear. So people don't want to invest, they don't want to buy. And in a sense, that's quite right because you don't know what's happening. It's the uncertainty that creates the fear. But if you can add some certainty into the situation, you can then profit whilst everybody else is fearing. So how do you create certainty? So for example, one of the things that I was doing at the time was finding property deals that were very cheap, but selling them cheap. So what does that mean? So what I was doing is finding properties, let's say it was £100,000 property, and we were securing that property at, say, £70,000 as a purchase price, and maybe selling it for £74,000 or £75,000. So even £75,000 is still a great price for somebody to buy that property, particularly if it's tenanted, it's producing an income. If they're not going to sell it anytime soon, and it's producing a really good income, a very high return based on the investment that they're making, they're still going to be happy. And if the market continues to fall a little bit, it's not necessarily a terrible thing because their income is going to continue to come. They're still going to generate an income on that property each and every month. And it's only eventually when they come to sell, at that point, you need to look at, okay, what's the situation? If they sell now, are they going to make a profit or are they going to make a loss? Because if the market falls, if you don't sell, actually, it doesn't really make a huge amount of difference to you. It's only if you sell at that point that you might burn your fingers because you'll maybe have to sell at a loss. So in that situation, where somebody's producing a good return on their investment, and I've sold something to them at £75,000, they're going to be very happy. I acquired it at £70,000, I made £5,000 profit as well. So it's by creating a little bit of certainty in the transaction means that you can create profit for yourself. So another thing that we were doing at that time when the market crashed out and we wanted to renovate and sell property, you could buy really cheap property, you could renovate it, but we may not be able to sell it because people were scared they weren't really buying at that moment in time. And although the market wasn't really falling when I was doing some of these things, it kind of more flattened off, but there was still uncertainty in the market, so people were still fearful. But that doesn't mean there's nobody buying in the market at all. There's always some buyers that exist. Generally, there'll be fewer buyers in the marketplace. And for example, we're buyers, we're in the marketplace. So like us, there's other people as well that are still willing to look at the market and buy property. So what we would do, we'd partner with the owner of a property that was a little bit tired and needed some work doing to it. So rather than us purchasing it, we'd do some work on that property to make it look a lot nicer than it is. And then we'd list it on the market, but in a more competitive price to many of the others, but make it look like the nicest property on the street. That doesn't mean we spent the most amount of money on it, but we present it in a nice way. You know, it's nice and clean and fresh and modern looking. Sometimes just freshening up a property can make a huge difference and make it more appealing. And so without even purchasing the property, we were selling the property on after doing a little tidy up, professional up, if you like, and making a small profit from that because there were still buyers that wanted to buy property, but they're a little bit unsure. But when they saw this property come on the market and it was nicer than anything else that was listed and it was a slightly lower price, you could see why it would still attract some attention and we could still sell the property. Now, one thing I wouldn't do during a recession is your regular flips where I buy a property and sell. Like, for example, right now, we're not doing any new developments where we're building out the ground because I think the market there's still a degree of uncertainty. So in a year's time, let's say we start a development now, in a year's time, we finish that development, we go to the market to sell, and the market's still very slow. We may struggle to sell, and I don't want to get trapped or stuck in that. So there are some do's and don'ts. There's certain things that work well in a market when it's slowing down, and there's other things that you would avoid doing. But there's always an opportunity to make money in each and every market. The most important thing is understanding what strategies work at what point in time. Hey, if you're enjoying these short videos that we're doing called Saj Dailies, then make sure you also check out our longer form content that we have on the channel. There's probably about 300 videos that are on the channel that we've uploaded over the last few years, and there's a lot more content uploaded regularly. And if you're enjoying it, then make sure you click on that like button. Also subscribe to the channel, but more importantly, leave me a comment. Let me know what it is about these videos you're particularly enjoying and particularly liking. Then once you've done that, make sure you click on this video, and I'll see you over here next.